And for once, Celtic were on the end of an absolute hammer, and normally they are the team to be dishing out these kind of score lines, but tonight they got a taste of their own medicine. Even though after 10 minutes you're probably thinking, right, Dortmund have scored, Celtic have responded straight away, Celtic aren't going to fold, Celtic are up for this, and I mean, I was kind of thinking that myself. I actually predicted 4-2, so I thought there was going to be a lot of goals in this, and I thought Dortmund would win, but I thought Celtic would cause them problems. And after 10 minutes, I'm looking at my 4-2 scoreline, and I'm going, well, it's already 1-1. Celtic have shown that they're not going to crumble just because Dortmund go ahead, because they responded perfectly by getting a goal back. And I'm thinking, you know what? They could make a game of it here. This could be close, but Dortmund had other ideas. They were fantastic tonight. Adeyemi, honestly, man, he was causing Celtic problems every single attack, just with his pure pace alone. He was great. And what I don't think helped Celtic tonight, especially, was that I think some of their big players let them down. It wouldn't have mattered anyway. They could have turned up and they wouldn't have beat Dortmund tonight because Dortmund were way too good. But it didn't help Celtic that I think some of their players definitely underperformed. And when you look at some of the goals, I think Maida's at fault for a goal. I think Schmeichel you could maybe blame for a couple. I mean, Callum McGregor wasn't really up to much the night either. I mean, it was a poor performance. Although, having said that, I think Dyson Maida was like the only spark that Celtic really had after like 15, 20 minutes. He was the one that if he was going to make something happen, it was going to come through him. But at the end of the day, what do you expect? The guy's not going to single-handedly defeat Borussia Dortmund, and he did not. So we'll start with the penalty. Dortmund get a penalty straight away. Ball played through. It is, I believe, Adeyemi. He tries to go around Schmeichel. Schmeichel brings him down, and you have to get a penalty here. There's no doubt about it. Adeyemi, he just runs into Schmeichel. Schmeichel's already committed himself. Schmeichel, goes down to ground. He's committed, and Adeyemi, instead of trying to go round Schmeichel, he just goes into him. It's smart play. I mean, some people could say possibly could he have tried to score. Yeah, but we've seen this now. If a goalkeeper's going to throw himself at your feet, if the goalkeeper doesn't get the ball and he collects you, then it's going to be a penalty easily. So Adeyemi goes down. Dortmund get the penalty. Schmeichel gets booked. Can stands up. He scores it. He makes it 1-0. Worst possible start for Celtic. You're thinking this is not good, but I mean, Dyson Maida, Arnie Engels, they weren't listening. Celtic respond 2 minutes later. Engels' cross comes into the box. Maida's first to it. I think it's really poor defending for Dortmund, to be honest. For some reason, they just decided to allow Maida to go through the middle, and I mean, he bundled it home. Not sure what body part he scored it with, but he got the goal. 1-1, and this gave Celtic a lifeline. This got Celtic right back in the game, but you know what? They didn't take it. They didn't take advantage of it. And unfortunately for Celtic, Dortmund are through again. Brandt plays through Adeyemi. In the first half, man, there was so many times where it was only Trusty and Scales back. And it was literally like 4-on-2, 5-on-2 at times in Borussia Dortmund's favour on their attack. Celtic were committing way too many bodies forward, and I get it. They've got their style of football. They want to continue that, but there's a time and place for that kind of football, and it's certainly not when you're getting picked apart. And I think Rodgers was poor tonight, man. He should have changed that, especially when they got right back in it. They allowed themselves to get into the game at one, even when they go 2-1 down. So the ball gets played through to Adeyemi. He takes a shot. Celtic are a little bit unlucky here. It takes a deflection off Trusty and goes past Schmeichel. I don't think you can really blame Schmeichel here. Can't really blame Trusty either. Just a bit unfortunate. This was 2-1. Even at this point, if Rodgers decided to change tactics, even though he's 2-1 down, you can totally respect it and understand it, because I mean, at this point it did look like Dortmund were potentially going to rip them apart. So if I was Rodgers, I would have changed it. I've been right. We're only one goal down here. We can stay in this game and we can try and make something happen. But I mean, he kept playing the Celtic way, and you can't play that way when you're playing against a team that has got the quality like Dortmund do. But, I mean, Rodgers, I guess he didn't learn. I mean, we've seen Ange kind of do the same thing, but it is what it is. Celtic then were under pressure for like the next 20-odd minutes. It was all Dortmund, all Dortmund. Ball gets played it to Adeyemi again. I think it was from a corner. He takes a shot from a wide area, and it beats Schmeichel. Schmeichel does get a hand on it, but not enough to keep it out. Schmeichel didn't look happy. I think he should probably do better, to be fair. It's a wide angle. You shouldn't really be getting beat from here. Now, did he possibly think the cross was coming in? I wasn't expecting Adeyemi to shoot, so maybe Schmeichel wasn't either. I don't know, but Adeyemi, it definitely was a shot, and it was a good shot, powerful shot, and it was a well-struck shot, and Schmeichel just didn't get a strong enough hand on it to keep it out. That made it 3-1. I think Schmeichel should save it, but it's still a great shot for Adeyemi. 4-1. Engels then catches Adeyemi, who was absolutely everywhere, man. Man of the match. If we're doing player ratings, Adeyemi gets a 10, no doubt about it. He gets caught. There's not much in it, but, unfortunately, this is a penalty now in football. I personally don't think it should be. In an ideal world, I wouldn't have this as a penalty in football because there's barely any contact, but Engels tries to kick the ball, he misses it, and he makes a bit of contact with Adeyemi. Adeyemi goes down, as players do these days, and it was a penalty for Dortmund, and Guirassy steps up, scores it, makes it 4-1, and at this point, it was all over. You could maybe argue Celtic had a chance at 3-1 if they got the next goal, but at 4-1, the game was done, but Dortmund weren't done, and Adeyemi completed his first half hat-trick. Not long after, Celtic under pressure, they try and play their way out for the back. McGregor passes it to Maeda. I don't know if it was, I'm assuming he tried to come inside rather than took a heavy touch here, but he tries to run out from the back, and the ball just gets away from him, and Adeyemi collects it and puts it past Schmeichel to make it 5-1. Celtic do get into the break here, but it's embarrassing. It's 5-1. It's probably going to get worse, and you know what? Considering how good Dortmund were, if you offered Rodgers to only get out 7-1 at the 90 minute, he might have took that just because of how threatening Dortmund looked. And I know people will say no, Brendan Rodgers would have hoped to have won the second half, but based on this first half, man, and how shaky Celtic looked at the back, I honestly thought, man, that Dortmund could have went and scored another 5 in the second. They didn't. They kind of took their foot off the gas a little bit. Probably didn't help Celtic, to be honest, that Carter Vickers wasn't available, but Dortmund were that good tonight. They'd have beat Celtic with or without Carter Vickers, to be honest, so that didn't really matter. Dortmund did make it 6-1 with Guirassy into the second half. Alistair Johnson plays a pass from out on the right-hand side. It gets intercepted. Ball gets played to Guirassy, and, he totally sends Scales. He turns Scales inside out here. Liam Scales has been great for Celtic over the past year and a bit, but, he wasn't great here. This was embarrassing. Guirassy turns him inside out, makes it 6-1. And then Nchema, with the 7th goal in the 79th minute, just finishes it for Dortmund, puts the icing on the cake. Celtic scored that many. I can't even remember how the last goal was, but Nchema scores it, and yeah, that was it. Just completely finished the game there. Celtic lose by 7-1, and what a tough game for them. Obviously it was going to be tough, but to lose 7-1, it kind of undoes, all the good work that they did against Slovan Bratislava. They helped, their goal difference was looking good after that game. Even if they came tonight and they lost narrowly, if they lost by a goal or even 2 goals, they're still in a good position. 3 points with, still plus a few goals, but this defeat's heavy. Now they're negative, negative goal difference. It's not great from a Celtic perspective. In terms of possession, it was, relatively even. 52 for Dortmund, 48 for Celtic. Shots was 16-9. So, even shots, it doesn't look that bad. In terms of shots on target, though, it was 13-2 in favour of Dortmund. So, when it came to shots, Dortmund really were dominating. They were the team that was creating the chances, and honestly, they just couldn't really live with them. We do have some reaction, though. So, Callum McGregor's been speaking to TNT Sports after the game. He said, quote, "A sore one for sure. We were punished with every mistake we made. Before we knew it, we were 5-1 down. A sobering night. If you make mistakes like that, you get punished. Credit to Dortmund. We've been sobered a little. We need to be able to take that and bounce back in the next game. You get yourself back into the game. The quick goal killed us and rattled us a little bit. But when you give good players time on the ball, they will kill you. And that's what they did. I think the game plan was to be in between the two. We understand when you play against good players, you have to suffer a little bit without the ball. We have learnt from it. We've got a lot to think about after that." End of quote. And they do. I mean, they have a lot to think about because that was really poor in the end. So I mean, we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen. James McFadden has said, "quote There would have been a bit of belief and confidence that Celtic would come here and perform. Tough questions will have to be asked." End of quote. I mean, yeah, Celtic were expected to perform, I think, because of how good they've been, but no one really thought Celtic were going to come and win tonight, so I don't think there'll be that many. And the questions is, how did they lose so badly? It's not a fact of, you can't lose to Dortmund, you just can't lose 7-1. Pat Bonner said, quote, "Reality kicks in, a tough night to forget, embarrassing to say the least. It all comes down to the structure and the way Celtic set up defensively, and the mistakes that were then compounded by the nervousness. Don't forget, Schmeichel must have had about 6 very good saves, and I didn't count them all." End of quote. So, yeah, embarrassing, says Pat Bonner. You know what? Schmeichel did have some good saves, but I mean, he also gave away a penalty. He was also at fault for the third goal. So, yeah, I mean, Schmeichel, I don't think he had his greatest game tonight, despite making some good saves. So, it is what it is. Tom English has said, Celtic haven't learned anything. He says, quote, "There were fundamental issues here. Celtic have set up away against Borussia Dortmund as they did at the weekend against St Johnstone, expecting to have the same kind of control. That was never going to happen. They were a soft touch. They don't seem to have learned anything. These are monumental hidings that Brendan Rodgers has overseen. They are not getting any better in Europe. They are naive to go and play that way. Dortmund just lapped it up." End of quoting. Not heard anything yet from Brendan Rodgers himself, but yep, his European record at Celtic is not good, and he's been on the receiving end of a lot of hidings, and make no mistake about it, guys, tonight was a massive hiding for Celtic. It didn't exactly help the coefficient either after this heavy defeat. But we now turn our attention to Rangers and Hearts on Thursday night. We'll see what they can do. Can they redeem things for Scotland? Celtic, they're still okay. They would have expected to have 3 points after 2 games, and that's what they have. So, you know what, they can still get through, but tonight was a really, really bad result for them, and it brought them back down to reality with a bang. And the fact is that they're not a top European side, no matter how many times they smash St Johnstone or whatever. That when it comes to Europe, they're still a small team in this competition, even with the extended league phase format. Yeah, they beat Slovan Bratislava, but most teams will beat Slovan Bratislava. So a lot to think about for Celtic going forward. Anyway, guys, that's it. Leave a like, leave a comment. Unfortunately, they couldn't get the job done. Maybe they'll get it done next time. We'll have to see. But their next couple of fixtures aren't exactly easy. So it could get worse for Celtic in Europe before it gets better. That's all I will say. That's it, guys. Till next time. Peace.